Man, listen, folks, I'm gonna tell you what, something about this whole Nolan Wells case does not sit right with me. Something about it, man, and I've been quiet for a couple of days because I just wanted to make sure I understood. I wanted to see if anything would pop out, but as of now, it seems as though we still have the same questions that were not answered. Okay, now if you guys don't know who Nolan Wells is, it's this kid from Mississippi, athlete, had his whole life ahead of him. He was playing football for some community college, and he grew up with these friends. Now, mind you, these friends that he had were not people he just met. There were people that Nolan's family were comfortable with him going with and seemingly hung out with a lot. Now, this is where the story begins. On the 4th of July, they went to the Horn Island, and it seems to be a place where kids go to, hang out, maybe drink, maybe have some fun, get some girls, hook up, right? That's what the whole situation seemed to be until when it came time to leave and the ending of that event happened. Nolan Wells was nowhere to be found. Nowhere to be found, and there was a discrepancy in what actually happened to him. Who saw him last? Now, racial tensions have already been rising because Nolan seems to be the only black kid in his friend group, right? So that's red flag number one for a lot of people. But obviously, in my head, I'm not gonna be like, okay, they're all white, so they must have did something to him. But that's until we're starting to hear accounts from other people. Now, this is where the discrepancy takes place for me. His friends say that Nolan wanted to go talk to a girl and they were about to leave. So, because he wanted to go talk to the girl, they were like, okay, well, you could just go back home with her. Mind you, they're on an island. They have to get back to land by taking a boat. So, their story is that he wants to go and talk to this girl, so they leave. But at the same time, the girl, Kate, is saying that no, I was talking to him and our conversation got cut short because he needed to go and get home with his friends. Cool. So now we have two people telling us that he basically disappeared and left them when it was time to go home. Now, another thing that doesn't make sense is that this kid is a teenager. His cell phone is found inside of the boat with the other teens that go home. Meanwhile, he's nowhere to be found and he's not with his cell phone. A little bit later, he's completely missing. They find him dead. I feel like that whole story, and that's just the quick cliff notes of it. I feel like there's something fishy about that story. And now it's even being reported that there were deleted text messages within the phone when it was returned to his family. Now, listen, there's a lot of shit going on, bro. This story is just heating up, but I gotta show you a few things that don't make sense to me. Let's check this thing out. Now, the first thing I want to show you guys is Ben Crump's interview. And I know a lot of people might have their own opinions on Ben Crump. A lot of people call him an ambulance chaser, this, that, and the other. But at the end of the day, if what he is saying is actually factual, then this case needs to be looked over. And it's mainly the area where deleted text messages come into play. If they can prove that there were actually deleted text messages by somebody other than Nolan, we've got a problem, right? This kid turns up dead days later after the whole 4th of July party and nobody knows where he went. Let's check this out real quick.
Joining us now is attorney Ben Crump, who's representing Nolan Wells' family. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Crump. Just from where you sit, what are the biggest unanswered questions so far about this case?
Obviously, the biggest question is what happened to Nolan Wells. I think the reason this case has caught such fire is because they see the pictures, they see the video, and they're saying, hold on, you're trying to tell us just accept this an accident and sweep it under the rug? His mother, Christine, his father, Elmo, say, no, they will not allow that to happen. His friends, his community. I mean, he was a good kid. He was beloved. He was a college athlete. He had everything going for him. And so to go on that island for 4th of July celebration and then not to come back is what is concerning everybody, especially when you hear the contradictions.
And you're conducting your own investigation. How will that differ from what the authorities are doing?
Well, one thing, we're trying to be very transparent because the family has some concerns about the state of Mississippi doing an investigation of the death of a young black man where young white students may be looked at as having some culpability. So
All right, so that's where I want to pause it right there. You know, these guys, they're always going to bring race into this shit, and that's why I said it in the beginning of the video. He was the only black kid in the friend group, from what I can understand, in that particular friend group. Now, on the screen right here is the picture of all the guys he was hanging out with. Over here is Wyatt, Warren, and Eric, right? So the biggest thing that he's trying to make, I think he's trying to get steam behind this, making it a racial thing. But I do have to say, when I hear that his cell phone was left in that boat, that don't make sense. Listen, I don't care if they don't even have connection out there and they're like, oh, leave your phone there. I'm not leaving my phone in that boat, and I highly doubt that he was going to leave his phone in that boat. That's the biggest problem that I have. My whole thing is that we just need to prove that these kids' stories is accurate, because you have one girl saying this and you have his group of friends saying that. No, he left to go get in the boat with his friends, and they're saying no, he left to go and talk to that girl, so we left him there. Somebody's lying, in my opinion. But let's keep it going. Now, hold on, listen, you might want to take the word from AG Tactical with our new sponsor today called Money Pilot. All right. Money Pilot's an app that you could download on your phone that allows you to claim class action lawsuits that you're eligible for. And it's automatic. I always bring up Yahoo with the class action lawsuit that was able to net me $325 just by looking into it. So if you guys are interested, make sure you go download it. And I'm pretty sure you're going to like it.
Family is concerned about that. So we're going to have an independent autopsy. We have investigators talking to witnesses that have no alignment or no allegiance to the state. And that's important, Lindsay. When you think about Mississippi and the history of Mississippi, you know, this is the state where Emmett Till was lynched.
You mentioned earlier there are some contradictions.
Yes.
What gives you confidence or perhaps concern about the investigation so far?
Well, the fact that they continue to tell the family that we don't see any evidence of any foul play, even though you have students who recorded an altercation while they were on the boats of argument where you had Nolan and somebody yelling at one another on the boat. So that's an issue. And then you have the young lady make a statement and she says, well, Nolan and I finished talking and Nolan said he was going back to the boat. And then the boys on the boat said, no, Nolan told them he was going to stay with her. And so they are conflicting. She's saying he went and got on the boat. They saying he didn't get on the boat. So which is it? And all we know is Nolan is dead.
The Wells family, how is Nolan's parents, how are they?
So I'm going to stop it right there. The whole idea is that nobody knows how this kid drowned when there's a whole bunch of people on the island having a good time. How does that make sense? And I could see if he just drifted off, like, you know, while everybody was having a good time and didn't notice him. But it seems as though this was happening when everybody was getting ready to leave. So everybody's already looking for their crew and their party to leave with. How do you just, yeah, I guess Nolan's back there somewhere. And even if let's just say everybody left and Nolan was stranded on the island. Ooh, scary. I think he's old enough to know that he can't swim the fuck back miles to shore. And when people realize that he's not there, somebody's going to come looking for him at the last known location. I think he would have known that. Listen, guys, you know, I don't want to go too far into conspiracy land yet because I think we will get a few more answers. But this is looking bad to me. This is looking really bad, and it doesn't help that they're in Mississippi with all this funky shit taking place. Shout out my people in Mississippi. You guys let me know what you think, though. But let's move forward because apparently the mom she came out with a response because now the parents are starting to get some flack from the online. And I'm not blaming anybody right now. All I'm saying is these stories they don't jive together too well. They're not jiving. It's not making sense. Somebody needs to come out and say where their mistake was, either the girl or the kids. Like, oh, my bad. Actually, he didn't tell. Somebody needs to come out and clarify those two stories, is all I'm saying. Right? But let's check this out. This is Ashley Cole, um, one of the mothers, and let me show you what she had to say. This is the mother of Warren. Our family, along with the community, grieves the loss of Nolan Wells. Our thoughts and prayers are with Nolan's family. Our son Warren loved Nolan dearly. Unfortunately, I feel that it is appropriate for our family to dispel some rumors, with facts based upon the social media attention that is being diverted away from the Wells family and their loss. I'm going to say my opinions until later, right? No, I'm not going to say my opinion until later. Miss Ashley, it doesn't if people online and the family want to raise concerns, we all have the right to do that. I don't like how the person with the living child is telling everybody else how they should handle it. Like, no, no, no. Let's just focus on the life of Wells. No, I want to focus on what happened that day. That's what I want to focus on, me personally. Just me personally. That's what the family seems to want to focus on as well. And again, I think it's too early to point any fingers, but things they don't look good. It something about it don't smell right to me. And I've been looking at his pictures. I've been looking at the statements being made. I've been looking online. I've been kind of poking my nose into it. Something about this shit seems off. Well, let's keep going. Yes, I deactivated my Facebook. Given the very heightened emotional state of social media right now, I fear for the safety of my child and of my children. My husband and I have 6 children, and we covet their privacy. We do not believe it is appropriate for our minor children's photographs to be circulated throughout the internet, presenting potential threats to their safety. I graduated high school with Christine Wells Wansley. We are from the same community. I have the utmost respect for her and all the Wells family. We mourn the loss of Nolan with them. Our prayers have been and will continue to be with them. Okay, that's solid. That's a solid response. That's a solid response so far. But this is where things get a little interesting. This is where, this is the mother of the kids, right? But this is where it seems like she's kind of defending for her son. Why don't we just wait until the independent autopsy is done and maybe the independent investigation is complete, if that even happens, right? But this is what she says. My husband and I were not at Horn Island at any point on July 4th. No one in our family is trying in any way to impede with the investigation by law enforcement or to otherwise hamper the family and law enforcement's quest for answers. Warren was interviewed by Jackson County Sheriff's Department, cooperated fully. He saw Nolan last around 3 p.m. on July 4th. They left around 4:30 p.m. when the boat was taking on water and they had some issues with the bilge pump. Nolan made the decision to stay on the island and return inland later with another group of friends. Now, this is where it doesn't make sense, right? Because the other account that the kids give is that they spoke to Nolan saying that they were getting ready to go. Nolan said, "Nah, I'm talking to this shorty. All right, big dog, we'll see you later. We're out." But if you talk to him at 3 p.m. and you left at 4:30, how does that make any sense if the boat's already taken on water? Remember, they had to leave because the boat's taken on water. Why would you wait another hour? Why wouldn't you tell Nolan at 4:30 instead of 3 o'clock? Like, hey, we're actually leaving. Come on, let's go. But no, you see him last at 3. Apparently, the last conversation you have is that you're going to leave soon. Then an hour and a half later, you actually leave. I don't know. It's just not, it's like the story doesn't make sense to me. And I'm not blaming anybody yet. The story doesn't make sense to me. Y'all let me know in the comments, but we'll read that again. He saw Nolan last at around 3 p.m. on July 4th. They left at around 4:30 p.m. when the boat was taken on water. They had an issue with the bilge pump. I don't know how to pronounce that. Nolan made the decision to stay on the island and return inland later with another group of friends. Fishy. Yes, I am a judge. I also value transparency. I apologize if anyone was offended that I deleted my social media. There were no nefarious motivations in my deleting my social media. Social media has a lot of positives, but a whole lot of negatives. Excuse me. We live in a world of clickbaiting, sad but true. My family is hopeful that the information will help to redirect the attention to Wells's family, their grief, and their need for our community support. But I don't know, man. You guys let me know what you think about that in the comments. I just wanted to present this story to you and say I don't like it. And I don't know what about it I don't like, but something feels like we're not getting the full story. And I need you guys in the comments to let me know what that part is. What's fishiest to you, or am I just tripping? Was this just some tragic accident? But I will tell you what, I want to see that independent autopsy. I really, really do. So keep your eyes open for that. I will be covering it. And again, you may have your own opinion about the attorney that the family decided to use, but if all these inconsistencies are true, we need to look deeper, regardless of who's covering it. But anyways, man, rest in peace to Nolan Wells, bro. And hopefully we figure out some more information. I'll see you guys real soon. Peace.